how Edward Bernays helped America join World War I without firing a single shot. In 1917, the United States faced a time problem. World War I had been raging in Europe for 3 years, but most Americans wanted nothing to do with it. The war was far away, and people saw it as a messy fight between European empires. President H. Woodrow Wilson had even won re-election in 1916 on the slogan, "He kept us out of war." But behind closed doors, things were different. The US had economic ties to Britain and France. American banks had loaned them billions of dollars to buy weapons, food and supplies. If Britain and France lost the war, those loans might never be repaid. A disaster for Wall Street. The American government needed an excuse to enter the war. But how could they convince the public to fight in a conflict they had no interest in? Enter Edward Bernays, the master of propaganda. Step 1. Create a reason to fight. Bernays was brought in to help shape public opinion. He was hired by the Committee on Public Information, CPI, a new government agency created by President Wilson. The goal: turn a nation of pacifists into passionate war supporters. The problem? The war had no clear villain for Americans. The British and French were not saints. They had their own brutal empires. The Germans weren't attacking America. Yet. So why should Americans care? Bernays needed a simple, powerful narrative. One that hit people emotionally, not logically. So he reframed the war. Instead of calling it a political struggle between European powers, he turned it into a moral crusade. The war to make the world safe for democracy. Suddenly, this wasn't about helping Britain or France. It was about fighting for freedom. It was good versus evil. Step 2. Make the enemy terrifying. Next, Bernays. And the CPIs needed a villain, someone to make Americans angry enough to go to war. That villain: Germany. Newspapers ran horrific stories about German soldiers committing atrocities. Many exaggerated, some completely false. Posters showed the Hun, a racist caricature of Germans, as a monstrous brute, destroying villages and attacking innocent people. The sinking of the Pout Lusitania, a British passenger ship carrying American civilians, was used as proof that Germany was barbaric, even though Britain was secretly transporting weapons on the ship. One famous poster showed a German soldier as a gorilla with a spiked helmet, carrying away a helpless woman. The message was clear. Germany wasn't just an enemy. It was a threat to American civilization. And if you didn't support the war, you were a traitor. Step 3. Use every form of media. Bernays understood something revolutionary. People don't think in facts, they think in emotions. If you control the media, you control the people. So he launched a full-scale propaganda blitz. Newspapers, journalists were given pre-written government-approved stories to publish. Movies, Hollywood produced war films, glorifying American troops and demonizing Germans. Posters, vivid images encouraged men to enlist and made war seem heroic and noble. Speeches. 4-minute men were trained to give short, passionate speeches about the war in movie theaters, churches and public squares. Bernays even helped create the first modern war bond campaign, convincing Americans to loan money to the government to support the troops. Step 4. Silence the opposition. Not everyone bought into the war fever. Some Americans, especially immigrants from Germany and Irish Americans who hated Britain, wanted the US to stay neutral. Bernays' solution: smear them as unpatriotic. Anti-war activists were labeled traitors. Critics of the war were accused of helping the enemy. The government passed the Espionage Act of 1917 and the Sedition Act of 1918, making it illegal to speak out against the war. Even Eugene V. Debs, a socialist leader, was thrown in prison for an anti-war speech. Bernays had turned America into a war machine, where anyone who questioned the narrative was silenced. Step 5. The US enters the war. By 1917, Bernays' propaganda had worked. Americans who once wanted peace were now demanding war. Wilson, who had run on, "He kept us out of war," suddenly had public support to send troops to Europe. Done on April 6, 1917, the United States officially declared war on Germany. 100,000 American soldiers would never come home. But for the government, the mission was accomplished. The aftermath, what Bernays learned. Bernays was thrilled by the results. After the war, he traveled to Europe, where he saw firsthand how deeply propaganda had shaped public perception. That yes, when he had a realization, if propaganda could convince a peaceful nation to go to war, what else could it do? Could it be used to sell products, influence elections, shape society itself? Bernays spent the rest of his career testing these ideas, using the same techniques from wartime propaganda to get women to smoke, the Torches of Freedom campaign, overthrow governments, Guatemala 1954, turn materialism into the American dream. He had unlocked the power to control public opinion, not by telling people what to think, but by shaping the way they see the world. The legacy. Does this sound familiar? Think about modern conflicts. How do governments convince people to support wars today? They paint the enemy as a villain, just like Bernays did with Germany. They frame the war as a fight for freedom and democracy. They use mass media to spread their message everywhere. They silence dissenting voices and label them as unpatriotic. The same propaganda playbook Bernays used in 1917 is still being used today. Dundilum. Final thought. What do you think? Do you see Bernays' influence in modern conflicts? Can you spot propaganda in today's media? Let's discuss.